السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر والله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. We begin by praising and thanking Allah for all the blessings that He has given us. The blessing first and foremost of guidance, the blessing of a place of worship where we can be reminded of Allah, where we can be reminded of the true reality of our existence. And we thank Allah for our health, for our families, for placing us in this community so we can support one another on our path to Him. And we bear witness that there's no God except Allah and that Muhammad is His last and final messenger. And we ask Allah to send His peace and blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon his beloved family and his companions and all who seek to follow him in righteousness until the day of judgment. And we reminded ourselves with a verse from the Quran to have taqwa of Allah. Taqwa being love of Allah, fear of Allah, consciousness and awareness of Allah. All of these things and more which make up taqwa, because that is the determining attribute of our rank in the presence of Allah on the day of judgment. Not our wealth or our lineage or our color or our education, but only what type of taqwa has descended into our hearts from all of those circumstances that Allah has given us. So we have heard many times that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said that إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that indeed I have only been sent to perfect noble character. Obviously he was sent for much more, but that emphasizes in his manner of speaking how important noble character is at the end of it. That all of what he came with, the fruit of it is this exalted character. And he says that people will achieve with good character what they don't achieve through fasting or prayer. So good character will take us even higher than doing extra optional prayers and so forth. And he told Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the leading companions, especially when it came to his sense of judgment and his knowledge and wisdom, before sending him to Yemen, the south of Arabia, which had very recently come into Islam, important, strong tribes far away from Medina. So he's sending Mu'adh there, may Allah be pleased with him, on a very important mission. And part of his advice to him was خَالِقِ النَّاسِ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ, that treat people with excellent character. And among the most important qualities of good character, and this is what we want to focus on today, is preoccupying oneself with one's own business. We all have heard probably of the collection of a hadith that Imam al-Nawawi gathered, Sahih hadith, about 40 or so of them, to capture a lot of the main topics of Islam. And even from those, he then summarized and said that all of Islam revolves around 4 of the hadith in there. And one of them was min husni Islam al-mar'i tarku ma la ya'ni, that from the perfection of a man's Islam, of a person's Islam, is to leave what does not concern him. Someone once asked Imam Malik his age. Imam Malik, one of the 4 forebears or imams of jurisprudence, of fiqh, of usul al-fiqh, someone once asked him his age, and his reply was, أقبل على شأنك, that mind your own business. Not out of rudeness, but out of reminding the questioner that why do you need to know, or how does it help you to know my age? And some of the commentators on this included that apart from words, it also includes our actions, that we should have our actions be something that revolves around our worldly concerns and our hereafter concerns, our otherworldly concerns. That's what we should tend to prioritize and focus on without getting into too many things that don't concern us. And one of the early forebears, or one of the people from the earlier generations, the Salaf, was walking by a house, and Imam Ghazali mentions this in his writings, and he asked the person that he was with, "Whose house is that?" And as soon as that question came out of his mouth, he felt bad that he asked that, and he then fasted after it as an expiation, as a kafara, to make up for what he thought of as fudul al-kalam, as superfluous or unnecessary speech. Not that it was sinful, but in terms of what he was aspiring to, he realized that he asked that out of pure, oh, that's maybe a nice house or interesting house, whose is that? But it wasn't something that actually had some benefit for him. And so once Imam Ghazali also mentioned in his writings that Ibn Mubarak, one of the early forebears as well, backbiting was mentioned in front of him, and regarding it he said, if I was going to backbite, I would backbite my mother, because she is most deserving of my good deeds. And so not perhaps to be taken literally, but using it as a chance to remind whoever he was with of what the actual consequences of backbiting are, that they harm the speaker more than the one who is being spoken ill about. And so reminding ourselves that we're actually hurting ourselves and helping the person who we think we're criticizing or saying something bad about. And Al-Hasan al-Basri, another one of the early scholars, somebody came to him once and said, oh, so-and-so said this about you, and so-and-so said that about you. And so what Imam Hasan al-Basri did is that he sent him a gift of a plate of rutab, or these very nice dates, with a note that said, I heard you said some things about me, and I wanted to recompense you for giving me those good deeds of yours. So also as a way to use it as a chance to remind each other. And keep in mind, the atmosphere was different than where people actually were open to receiving nasiha or advice, even when it came in a strong way. And we ourselves should be that way, be open to receiving advice. Now, when we're giving advice, also we should give it, but with the good intention and wisely, but bringing back that culture of deepening our brotherhood and sisterhood so that we can reflect the right values to each other like they were. And then we find in another hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ what's reported to have been said that إِنَّ أَحَدُكُمْ لَيَتَكَلَّمُ بِكَلِمَةٍ لَا يُقِي لَهَا بَالًا, that one of you will speak a word and not give it any weight, but that word will take him into hellfire. And that on the other side, one of you will speak a word and not give it much weight, but it will please Allah and it will raise him degrees in Jannah. To remind us that our words have weight. It's the most unique aspect of our creation. As Allah says in Surah Rahman, Ar-Rahman خلق الإنسان الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان, that the most merciful, He taught the Quran. He created man and He taught him speech or communication. So it's a unique faculty that we have that allows us to rise to the highest ranks because of what we can understand and communicate and gather and learn and worship and praise. But it's the same thing that can take us to the lowest of the low. And so let us use that faculty judiciously. And Allah tells us in the Quran, نحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد إذ يتلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. That Allah is saying that we are closer to Him than His jugular vein, that runs from your heart to your brain. We are closer to Him than that. And when a speaker speaks, when someone who is speaking speaks, then they are seated عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد. They're waiting, seated on his left and on his right. And not a word does he utter except that it is watchfully recorded. So we have to remember the closeness with which the spiritual realm encompasses us, that we are in both realms in parallel, and that the more real one is this spiritual realm that we are daily and in every moment living and existing and being in, whether we choose to pay attention to it or not. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ once heard a woman who lost her son in one of the battles exclaim, "Haniyan lakal Jannah," that saying that congratulations for you is Jannah, speaking in her mind to her child. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and it may sound tough, says, وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ تَكَلَّمْ فِي مَا لَا يَعْنِي. And what makes you know that? What makes you so sure? Perhaps he spoke of things that did not concern him. And to get a sense, it may have been that this person was known for being that sort of person, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wanted to bring the gravity of that type of behavior to everyone, even in such an occasion. So, these reminders of the weight of what we say is something that we shouldn't take lightly. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Between this first and second khutbah, let us seek forgiveness from Allah. إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, who we spoke in the beginning of the khutbah about, was one of the most beloved to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said in a hadith, "Inni uhibbuka ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuka ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuka ya Mu'adh," that surely I love you, O Mu'adh, repeating that 3 times till it reached us today. So we knew of Prophet Muhammad's love for Mu'adh. He was traveling with Mu'adh one time, and he asked him, Mu'adh asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Ya Rasulullah, akhbirni amma yudkhiluni fil jannah wa yuba'iduni anil nar." That tell me, inform me on what will enter me into Jannah and keep me far away from the fire. This is what was on his mind as he's traveling with Prophet Muhammad. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "You've asked about a shay'un azim, about a momentous thing. But it will be easy for those whom Allah has made it easy for." And so then he continues. He says, "Tu'minu billah, la tushrik bihi shay'a, tu'ti az-zakah, tasumu Ramadan, wa tahujjul bayt." Believe in Allah and don't associate partners with Him. Give the zakah, fast in Ramadan, and do the hajj to the house of Allah. The obligations that we know. So he started there. And then he continued, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and said, "Should I not tell you about the door to righteousness? As-sawmu junnah, that fasting is a protection. Because we guard ourselves and are more self-aware when we're fasting, because we feel our hunger and thirst all the time, and that reminds us to be watchful of the rest of our states of mind and action. And then he says, وَصَدَقَةُ تُطْفِئُ الْخَطِيئَةَ كَمَا يُطْفِئُ الْمَاءُ النَّارِ, that charity extinguishes sins the way water extinguishes fire. وَالصَّلَاةُ رَجُلٌ مِنْ جَوْفِ اللَّيْلِ. And so he started talking about the prayer in the night of a person. And he says, describing and reciting the verse, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبٌ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. That we find in the verse in the Quran, Allah is describing that the reward of a person who wakes in the middle of the night and leaves his bed and prays to Allah in hope and in fear, that Allah says that such a soul cannot even imagine, cannot even comprehend what sweetnesses of the eye, what delights and what coolnesses of the heart are waiting for him in Jannah. أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That they're such that Allah doesn't even describe them in the Quran. Apart from what He has already described in the Quran, Allah is saying there's things that we cannot even imagine for this type of praying in the night. And tahajjud in those days, actually, according to at least in the Maliki school, is any prayer after Maghrib, actually, because when it became dark in those times, people would soon go to sleep because you don't have artificial light and all these other activities that we do now. And so it was actually hard to stay up even up till Isha, because people also wake up early. And so it was a struggle. And so in the Maliki school, even that is tahajjud. And so for us, at least praying just even after Isha, some rak'ah or 2 rak'ah is a way to get some of that. But certainly even in the middle of the night. And then he continues, shall I not tell you about its central pillar, Ra'sul Amr? And he said, the head of this matter is Islam, and its pillar is Salah, it's prayer. وَذِرَّةُ سَلَامِهِ is jihad in all its forms. But then after saying all of this, look what Prophet Muhammad says. This is all in answer to Mu'adh about how to get into Jannah and stay far away from the fire. So he says all of these things, but then this is what Prophet Muhammad says at the end. أَلَا أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى مِلَاكِ ذَلِكَ كُلِّ. Should I not tell you about how to get all of this? And he took hold of his tongue and he says, كُفْ عَلَيْكَ هَذَا. Take control of your tongue. And Mu'adh ibn Jabal says, are we going to be taken into account for what our tongues have said? And Prophet Muhammad said, may your mother weep over you. وَهَلْ تَكُبَّ النَّاسِ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Is there anything that's going to cause more people to be dragged into the fire on their faces except the harvest of their tongues? So that is the power of taking control of our tongue. That it unlocks the key to all those other things that Prophet Muhammad described. The good deeds, the fasting, the prayer in the night, the obligations that Allah has given. All of those things start with how we use our tongue, because it reflects the state of our hearts. It formulates the intentions that come into our mind. It dictates what type of people we keep company with. Because your tongue and how you use it will end up causing your circle of people that you surround yourself to reflect who wants to be around and is interested in what your tongue is doing. And so the tongue is critical in all of this. And we find in the Muwatta of Imam Malik that he records a hadith, مَنْ وَقَاهُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ الْإِثْنَيْنِ وَلَجَ الْجَنَّةِ. that whoever is protected from the evil of these two things will be in Jannah. And he paused, and the companion said, what is it? Can you tell us? And he stayed silent. And the companions asked again, and he stayed silent. The companions asked again, and he stayed silent, till some of the companions told the others, calm down. He's doing this, he's intentional, his silence. But it was to get emphasis. And so then he answered his own question, and he said, مَا بَيْنَ لَأْيَيْهِ وَمَا بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ. And he repeated it 3 times. What is between his 2 jaws and what is between his 2 thighs? I.e. the tongue and the private parts. If we are prevented the evil of what can happen from those misusing those 2 things, we'll enter Jannah. And you might find it interesting that those 2 are mentioned, but Imam Ghazali comments on it, and he says that we get a pleasure out of speaking ill. Bismillah. Thank you very much. So in that hadith, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ reminded us of the association actually of what's between our jaws, between our lips, and between our legs. And Imam Ghazali noted that there's a pleasure in how we use our tongue. And if you think about it, each one of us finds sometimes some level of degree of pleasure in saying something negative, or putting someone down, or watching something on TV or whatever that seems to criticize other people, or negative news, or negative words or content, or forwards, or WhatsApps, or social media, or anything, much of it, or comments on anything, on YouTube, Facebook, whatever it might be. There's a pleasure. We take entertainment and pleasure in listening, indulging, saying negative things. In the same way we can possibly take wrongful pleasure through our private parts as well. And so this is what the Prophet ﷺ is reminding us. So we should watch ourselves before we speak ill of what other people are doing, easily, without any merit, unless there's some intention to do something, to help, to fix, to resolve. But if we're speaking negatively about certain volunteers, or what somebody else is doing in the community to do something, to help, to do whatever, there's a place for good input and help. But if it's just idle criticism, then that's also potentially something that's just for our own ego, as opposed to a real good intention. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the surah in the Quran, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ حُمَذَةٍ لُمَذَةٍ, that woe unto those who look for scandal and find fault. And then the rest of the surah continues with the punishments of that. So what I want to end with is just the summary, the reminder that this tongue of ours is special. It's what makes us human. It's what lets us get to its heights. So let us be cautioned by all that we've heard, but then use it for the power that it can bring. A word of truth. And that's hard. It's hard to speak and stand for truth against our own interests, against our own family members, or saying something to somebody powerful or influential in a wise way. And especially in today's environment, saying something in the face of popular culture where much of it is very much against what we know to be right. That's very hard to speak up about it in workplaces, in schools, in media. That's a different thing, on social media. Because whether it's getting canceled, or whether it's negative, people seeing you in a negative light, or seeming out of touch, But these things we have to speak up about, and that's using our tongue and getting the harvest of all the good things that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentioned. And the last thing I'll end with is, we spoke a lot about cautioning against speaking ill of people. 4 situations, or at least 4 situations in which scholars discuss that it's allowed, is one, if you're reporting to the authorities or people in charge that have something to do with the matter of what someone has done wrong, so that it can be addressed or corrected or rectified or given justice. So that's one time. The other thing is speaking negatively about someone, truthfully, when someone asks you about them with respect to marriage. And the third thing is, same thing, if someone asks you about getting into business with somebody and you're telling them things to watch out for because of what you've seen, so it prevents them from harm. And then the third thing is warning someone, whether publicly or privately, about a person who openly does something wrong. Someone who openly does something wrong, so you're cautioning people or someone else against getting influenced by that person. So these things is where it's allowed. يا ربنا لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Ya Allah, we praise you and we thank you and we ask you to give us the ability to thank you as you ought to be thanked. ربنا أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us the shortcomings of our tongues and to not use what we've said against us, Ya Allah, and to lift our tongues and give us وَجْعَلْنَا لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ عَلِيًّا, as the dua of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, that give us a truthfulness on our tongues, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we ask you to lift the hardship and difficulty of all those who are going through calamity and disease, especially also our dear brothers and sisters in Morocco, in Libya, and in Bangladesh, and other places that have suffered the severe hardships lately, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us at our shortcomings, Ya Allah, and to use us once again as a source of benefit and guidance for ourselves, our families, our community and society, Ya Allah. Ameen Ya Rabbul Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله سيدنا محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا فضوا إليها وتركوك قائما. قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله والله خبير بما تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين. ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها والله خبير بما تعملون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش أن يشفيك صبر مرتين إن شاء الله. Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank my dear beloved young man, Bilal, for having given us this wonderful reminder. He didn't even know that he was supposed to give the khutbah today. And within a couple of hours, he said, I'll put something together. I think he put something together that will benefit us all if we listen. Mafi, what is in between our jaws and between our private parts, guarding what we say, guarding the character, and may Allah bless him and reward him, his good family. But he's no new man to this. He used to be the director of the ISBCC for a number of years, so he's experienced in doing this, but what a wonderful job. We're asking for a few dollars today, maybe extra few dollars, because we want to put up the time clock by computer. We bought the units. We need to buy 2 monitors. We need about $500 all total. We've gotten about $250. So if anybody can put an extra $2 with whatever they put, we'll be able to have those screens that will show what time the prayer is, and we'll be able to change the prayer time by computer and everything. So anybody who wants to pitch in, get the blessings. And tomorrow is the food pantry. We were supposed to do it on Wednesday, but however, there was a mix-up clerically, and the order was canceled, and so we have to pick it up today and give it out tomorrow. If we need some people to help bag bags to give out to the people, 100 or so bags, so that we'll have them in advance. If you can come and help do the bagging, because it's supposed to be raining tomorrow, it'll make things run so much easier. You gonna be there? You might. Whoever can come, please do come. We need your help. And of course, we need the general contributions that you give to help keep the masjid on running. Whatever you can give to us, we will appreciate it, and we ask Allah to bless you and reward you with the good of this life and the life to come. Certainly, if I've said anything wrong, it is from Imam Abdullah Farooq, and if there's anything good in what I've said, it's from, any good is coming from Allah, and anything wrong is from me. And certainly for Bilal as well. Give me some skin, friend. Assalamu alaikum. And share this message. It's online, Mosque Praise Allah on YouTube. Mosque Praise Allah on YouTube, live stream. So go on live stream and share it with other people so they can hear the message, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. This is another reminder for every Friday. Last Friday, our contribution came close to what actually Allah have already given us. We came close to at least $900, which of course we are trying at least to make it at least $1,000 every Friday in order for us to get out of the hole that we are in. Maintaining the masjid, keeping the masjid clean, taking care of the water, taking care of the light. At the same time, the air condition, now winter is coming again, that we have to take care of that and clean it around the masjid. And there is no salary here, so whatever all of us can contribute, whatever each and every one of us can give, is a sadaqah that can help each and every one of us. At the same time, maintaining and cleaning the masjid so that everything can go smooth and nice as we come and do our Friday prayer and thank Allah for all the blessing and the good that we are receiving. So it's time for us to give as well. May Allah continue to guide us, bless us, and accept our prayer. Assalamu alaikum.